welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a video about insecurities and talking about my experience with them. So for me personally, I have had my struggles with insecurities, with my body weight, the way I look, just everything that you can imagine really. So my insecurities started around the age of 13, and obviously at that age your body's developing, it's changing, so it's going to be something that is going to be quite difficult for anyone to be able to look at, especially as a young teenage girl. So I remember when I was about maybe the age of like 14, 15, I was literally like a size maybe like 16, and I put on a lot of weight, and I'm not really sure how I put on like so much weight, or it was just literally my body changing, but I just knew that I felt very uncomfortable in the skin that I was in, and I didn't like what I saw in the mirror at all. It got to the point where I was so kind of just like disappointed and disgusted in what I saw that I just usually would cry when I look in the mirror. You know, I would try and always get sizes that were a lot bigger for me, or things that were too baggy to wear, because I didn't want anything to show my body or show like the extra flabby bits or fat bits. I remember even my prom, like the dress that I tried to get as well, it was just something I didn't feel comfortable in. I had to kind of deal with that from, I would say, the ages of 13 to like 17, 18. So basically a good 5 years, and that is the majority of your teenage years. I did a lot of comparing as well. Like I would look at my other like friends or people that I would see in my school. I'd look at my sister and I'll just be like, why can't I be more like that? Like, why can't I look like that? And it was one of those things where, you know, when people are getting a lot more attention and stuff, and you just feel like basically the ugly duckling, I would look at myself and just see nothing. Like I would actually put myself down so much, no matter how much anyone around me would try and lift me up or say that this looks nice or you look nice or whatever not, like I just wouldn't see it for myself. I just knew that I hated myself and how I looked, and I didn't like it, but I kind of just went with it, and I would just kind of get used to being that way and accepted being that person. The most difficult thing about it was that everyone would just look at me and no one would really know what I was going through. I don't think I told anyone, actually, thinking about it now. I didn't tell any single person about the way that I was feeling about myself, or how I looked at myself at all, or that I cried because of how I looked and I thought I was fat and ugly. Like I didn't tell anyone. By the time that I reached like after those years, like 19, 20, my weight started to literally drop, and when I mean drop, it dropped drastically. So I was losing a lot of weight, and people, like even my family, started to get concerned. Like my parents were like, are you eating properly? Like what's going on with you? Because you're looking really like not even slim, you're looking skinny, and it's worrying. I had this like obsession to McDonald's, and I would eat it sometimes even 3 times a day. I would eat the most unhealthy things and I wouldn't put on any weight at all. But then when I got to the age of 23, I literally blew up again, and I just put on so much weight. And I realized, because I am a yo-yo weighter, and what that means is when you yo-yo in weight, your weight fluctuates and it goes up and down like very like easily. So that was another thing kind of having to deal with and not understanding. You know, it's like, today am I going to be bigger or am I going to be smaller? Another thing that I really hated was my curly hair. So naturally I have like really like quite thick curly hair, and I hated it when I was younger. I just wanted to completely like just have it straight all the time. Any opportunity that I had, that hair was getting straightened. I actually had a lot of complexes due to my skin as well. My skin now is not even 100% like amazing, but when I was younger and I was growing up, it was like 10 times worse than it was now. Like I had so many spots, so many blackheads. My skin was just breaking out everywhere. Like it was so bad. I don't know why, but I didn't go anywhere without wearing a necklace. And I used to wear like those long kind of chunky necklaces that had like 6 different pendants on it, and they will hang like low down here. Because I was literally wearing them every single day, they gave me like a really like dark mark on the back of my neck. So any time where I would go out, I would always make sure that if something wasn't covering my neck, that I would wear like a scarf around my neck. Even in the summer, like back then as well, like years ago, we used to have some really good summers. There's been some years where we had heat waves, so it was hot outside and I was wearing a scarf. Like, it just looked so ridiculous. Like, imagine someone wearing like a summer dress and then they've got a scarf around their neck. Like, huh? That just looks weird. Another thing that I really didn't like as well was stretch marks. Like, I used to have a lot of them, and it was so natural, especially when you're growing up and you're, you know, growing or putting on, losing weight, whatever. I looked online and I saw #1 for stretch marks was bio oil, and I was like, okay, I'm buying that. Bought it, started using it, and then with like in a couple of months, I think, it started to disappear, and I was like, it was like such a sigh of relief for me. Like, it was just stretch marks, but I took it as something so deep. So with all of these things that were happening in terms of the way I looked at myself and the way I viewed myself, of course, if that was the outside, the inside was going to reflect that. So when I would be around people or people would see me, it's just that they could tell in the first 5 seconds that I was a very shy person. I was very closed, I was very reserved, I didn't speak to anyone. First time that I started secondary school as well, I started, I think, a week later than everyone else. When I went into like the class and school and stuff, I remember sitting with some people for lunch, and I just didn't speak. Everything was like, I literally, when I mean I didn't open my mouth, I didn't open my mouth to say anything to anyone. And I think it wasn't until a bit later, like when I eased into the school and I got comfortable with everyone, like maybe even a year or 2 down the line, one person told me that they thought I was actually mute, that they thought I couldn't like speak at all. It just showed me how people actually viewed me, and when I was younger, how bad like the situation was. And you know, it really did affect my mental health, because that is where I started to be withdrawn from groups of people. I couldn't be in a space with a lot of people because I started to feel claustrophobic. I started to look at people, and just because they were talking or laughing, instantly they're talking about me, they're laughing about me. I became so paranoid, and the anxiety got so much for me that I just felt uncomfortable in situations. Like, my heart would start to beat really fast, I'd start to like break a sweat, and I just felt uncomfortable. And even going out places as well, I didn't really like being by myself. So if I needed to go shopping, or if I wanted to go somewhere, even to the shop, I would ask my like younger sister to go with me, because I didn't want to be outside by myself, because I just felt so insecure and felt like, even though there wasn't a reason and I wasn't doing anything, or I was just a normal girl, but to me, it's like other people are looking at me and just judging me for the sake of it. And you know, some of these things really affected me so much. As I said, my mental health was affected, and the insecurities kind of took over to the point where I was suicidal. And I fell into depression. I'm not going to go too much into the suicide or the depression right now, because that is obviously a whole nother thing. But I will be doing another video on it very soon, don't worry. I had to get help, and I can honestly say that it's literally, for me personally, it was only through God that I was able to actually come out of that situation, because without me realizing how God saw me and how like I could use my faith to kind of overcome these things, that is what really helped me. And until this day, like, it will always be God for me. Another thing that I would say that obviously helped me, and to be more general for people that are going through things like this, if you're obviously not into a religion or a religious person, and maybe if you don't even believe in God, but something that did help me that anyone can use is to change your thought process. Like, I had to, it was hard, because it's like, how can you just expect me to change a negative thought to a positive one? Like, it doesn't work like that. And it's like, I feel like people didn't understand. But the more I tried to do it, eventually I kind of got the hang of it, and it became more second nature to actually do it. So I started to change my thought process. I started to change the things that I was looking at, to look at things more positive. I started to look at myself more positive. And even though I didn't believe it at first, I would say you are beautiful, I would say you are a great person, I would say that you are intelligent, you can do anything you put your mind to. And even though I was saying it at first, I didn't believe it, but after a while I did start to believe it, and after a while it did start to get a lot easier for me, and I actually started to kind of believe those things. Negative thoughts would come, but it was like I was finding it easier not to listen to them anymore. So that's just something that kind of carried me through, and as I got older I was able to kind of just embed that and take that with me. And I did a lot of work as well on my social skills with like people. Even until today, like I find it hard sometimes to interact with people because it's just, as the person I am, it is very difficult. But I've come such a long way. Like I'm not like that anymore with people, but I'm still working on it because I believe I can still be better. I still do have a lot of complexes and insecurities. The only thing is it doesn't consume me how it did before, and it's not something that I cry about anymore. It's not something that I put myself down for. It's not something that I literally like look at myself and start crying in the mirror. No, now when I look in the mirror I'm like, beautiful, look at you girl. Yes, yes. I actually look at myself and I'm just like, you're it, that's it. Because I found that confidence in myself. But everyone is gonna have something about themselves that they wish they could change, or something that they just prefer to change. And I think it's not a problem to have things about yourself that you don't like. Everyone does, like who doesn't? But I think it's always going to be an issue when it consumes you and you start to change and feel down because of it, and feel depressed and feel suicidal. That's when it becomes a problem. I'm still like working on myself, trying to lose weight, trying to get in shape, trying to tone up. Until this day I have really stubborn like arms. I hate my arms. I had a lot of obviously acne before, but it also like spread down to like my shoulder area, and before I wouldn't wear like anything that showed my back, but today I can still wear things or spaghetti strap things that show like a bit of my like back. Open pores as well. You can't really see, but no, you can't see, but I have really open pores. This is actually something that only started like a couple years ago, so I'm still trying to fix that, trying to get my skin correct. And if anyone has any tips for open pores, please DM me, because a girl needs to fix her skin. You know, I'm human, and I've learned to appreciate me for who I am and understand that no one is ever going to be perfect. One thing that I want to say as well is, obviously when you're looking online, I know it's so easy to be put down because many people look a certain way, and it gives people that perception that they need to look like that. I think about a year ago I had to go on a social media ban, and that's literally because I was getting caught up with how influencers and people on social media that have like X amount thousand followers like look. Everyone started taking their pictures in like this way and that way and doing this and doing that, and then I started to kind of think, okay, I can't really post pictures because my pictures aren't going to match that and whatever not. So because of that, I literally took myself off social media for like a good month, and I just had to literally go back and look at myself and just be like, okay, like you need to get yourself confidence basically. And that's exactly what I did. And then when I came back, I had a completely different mindset, because I was like, I can't look at these girls and just think that, oh, this is how everyone has to look, or I must look like that and stuff. You are beautiful the way you are. Learn to embrace yourself. Learn to just embody the person that you are, because you are a boss and nothing else matters. If you are someone who looks to people like that a lot, get out of the habit of doing that. You have to remember that you are an individual and everyone is completely different. Don't let social media rule you. Don't let it run your life. If you are going through anything and you don't have anyone to speak to and you want to confide in someone or speak to someone, I'm here. I don't have a qualification in an agony aunt or anything like that, but if you just want someone to hear you out and you want any type of advice from someone who's been through it, then don't be afraid to reach out to me, DM me. Well, that's the end of this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it and that you were able to kind of see a bit more about my background, where I came from, and how insecurities are actually a real thing that everyone has. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and follow me as well on Instagram, where I actually post IGTV videos and I'm a lot more active, and you can keep up with me on there. I will be back with another video real soon, so until then, see you.